that generate the purchase orders generate this document here. Notice the purchase order looks just like the work order. Work orders and purchase orders do effectively the exact same thing. The only difference is, if you're a material supplier, you don't want to see plumbing fixtures. You want to know what material you have to supply. So the purchase orders are going to tell you all the parts and pieces with the quantities, with the price. Okay, that's the real difference. The purchase orders give you the detailed breakout. Okay, if you're getting your own detailed breakout and you're giving a price that's lump sum, there's no need for the builder to then reiterate that breakout to you. You're getting the cheapest supplier, you're getting the best rate you can, and you're doing it to make your profit, and you're giving the builder a lump sum price. But that's not you. This is the supplier's breakout. Okay. How many people in here sign lien waivers today? Okay. So that process right now is, you know, you get a check, you get a lien waiver, you sign it, you give it back. What's going to happen is this is going to have a link to the lien waivers so that you can reprint them from the portal. Okay, so if you lost one or you didn't turn one in, you can just reprint your portal from the portal here. So now we're going to get into logging into the system. So everybody in the room has internet access. That's a big plus. You're going to go to a website. The website's in your manual. You turn to page 4 in your manual. You're going to see that if you go to beaconfinehomes.com, on the top right-hand corner, there's a login button. When you hit the login, it's going to take you to the web address that's going to show you everything that we're going to go through here. Once you get to that address, you can probably just bookmark the address so you can go straight there every time. And when you go there, there's a couple of things you're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is change your password. So your login and your password are on page 4. You know what? Is Klein Construction in the room? Good, because I grabbed that folder. So your login and your password is on page 4. That'll get you into the system. If you want to change the password, you'll just go to Profile, and you'll go down here to where it says Change Password. Put in something that's a little more secure to you in there. And we recommend that you do that as soon as you log in. All right, any questions about that? All right, so I'm going to assume that we just logged into the system, and I'm going to take you to, here's the menu at the top. So if you're using an iPad, it's pretty easy to just take your finger, hold it over, and then you'll get a little drop down below like any other website. So what your first priority is to do is go over to the profile, come down here, and click on Change Password. When you click on Change Password, you'll put in your current password, put in your new password, and then that sets it in the system for you. The next thing is when your contact information changes, you'll go to Profile, My Profile, there's your contact information. If you click Edit Profile, you can do things like change the main name of the person in charge, the phone number, the email address, those types of things. All right, so now I told you that there's a possibility that you're going to get these spreadsheets that you can start bidding out pricing on. So when you get these spreadsheets, in order to give pricing, you need accurate plan drawings. So what's going to happen with the plans is instead of them being sent to you via email, they're going to be available underneath of job documents. It's called model elevation docs. When you go into your model elevation docs, you'll see your plans. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about getting into the right development and where some of these things might live. But for now, let's just focus on the fact that underneath of your model elevation documents, you have items in green. If you hold your mouse over it, the name pops up. The green are models. When you click on one of those models, it opens up a link. And then the link will give you the plans. So you can go through there and take a look at it. And it opens it up in another tab on the window over here. Is everybody familiar with Adobe PDF files? Well, the internet, all the internet browsers over the last year and a half or so, when you open up an Adobe file over the internet, they open up another tab over here. So if you have a fairly new computer, it'll put it in another tab. And then when you hold your mouse down here, you can print, make it bigger, make it smaller, or save it. So it's a real good way of just getting the latest and greatest plans. Sometimes people get left off the email list. Sometimes your email blocks it because it's too You know, plans are too big, sometimes it goes to your spam folder. We don't want you to be without plans. So this is the place where you'll get to source plans. And the biggest use of this tool is that Stephen could put a base house plan out there that is, it's the base, it's the starting point. It has no options in it. A buyer's never touched it. It's the starting point so that you can give base house pricing. All right? And reference it during construction. All right, so that's your documents. Now, under profile, there's a couple other things. When you look at those plans and you fill out those spreadsheets and you give those bids back to the builder then will probably work with you, or PBR will work with you on the price, get the price finalized, and then they'll import the pricing back into the system. And then they'll print that Schedule A document for you to sign, like we have examples of in your folders. And then for you, you can go on here afterwards and reference your pricing by clicking on Contract List. These are your contracts that are in the system. So if there's ever a work order that's produced for any of these models and elevations, or anything that fits in that hierarchy, remember that triangle, the triangle hierarchy? So if there's a standard, or a model elevation, just look at the hierarchy. Any work that gets produced out of here, that's your starting point, that's your base. Now all we have to do is think about options. So if we scroll down a little bit, I guess we don't have any options on this one. The options would be down here, and the options, now the last two numbers here are like 01, 02, 03. The options are always coded to 51. Okay, that's the difference about options. They're coded to 51. And if you're in the trade that needs to be paid multiple times for one option, you'll have a 51 and a 52. Most of the time, everybody gets paid on a 51. And it just combines with like the last draw that you would get. All right? But you all might be different. And then if there are any documents, scope of work documents that are needed, you can see them in notes over here that go along with it. The scope of work prints out on the work orders. If you're a material vendor, you'll click on Material Price List. And I'll show you an example of that in a couple of minutes, but the difference with the material vendors are, and this is where I was starting to get at with the plans. How many people in here work for multiple builders in this area? Not just Beacon Homes. Everybody work for multiple builders? Okay. So when you work for multiple builders, how many people here are in the ABG pricing group? Okay, so if your price is consistent, then what's going to happen is your price is going to be stored in what's called the parent development. So definitely make a note of that. If your price is the same all across the board, regardless of where this plan is built, and you have that negotiated price, it's going to be in the parent development. So if you're trying to find your contract list or your material list, it's company 950, right, Hi?
For your parent development?
Yeah.
998.
Let's take a look. So if I go to Profile, Select Change Development, and I hit my drop down, it's 998, that's correct. So 998 is the parent, and then I would go down to what's called the parent development. The parent development is if you have global pricing. So that's where you would look if your pricing is global. If it's not, and it's only specific to certain projects, then you'll go into the development names to go find your pricing. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit on the daily operations here. Actually, let me log in as a supplier to show you that. Hi, what was that supplier price? That supplier code? Oh, never mind, I got it right here. That was 800. So if I log on as a supplier, and now I go into my parent development, and then I come down here to my material prices, you can see I have my parts and pieces in a list here, and I have the price on the right-hand side. Well, that's the price that you put into the spreadsheet and gave back over to the builder. That's in the parent level. Is everybody clear on the difference between how the contractual prices work for work orders, turnkey, and labor versus suppliers, and the terminology? I don't want to get confused over that because everything's going to kind of build off that. Everybody's good with that? All right, let's get into daily operation now. So if I click on my dashboard, the dashboard was designed with the idea that you were going to check the dashboard every day. I don't know about you guys. I've been a trade partner for builders before, and sometimes it's difficult when you are busy doing things and you receive multiple voicemails on your phone, or you get a lot of emails. I get 500 emails a day. So it's difficult when you are being asked to do things that get lost with your 8th voicemail or your 422nd email, or the spam guard grabs the email and you never get it. So what we prefer, what Beacon Homes prefers you do, is instead of things being emailed for notifications and a ton of phone calls telling you everything you have to do, you check the dashboard every day. So you log onto the portal every day, and you click on your dashboard. This is a real important part of this whole process, really to make this whole thing work. The first thing you're going to see on your dashboard are vendor notices. Your insurance is about to expire. It's going to tell you how many days you have left until it does expire. If you haven't turned in a lien waiver, you're going to want to look at your lien waiver here, print it, sign it, give it back. Things like your insurance did expire, W-9s didn't come in, maybe warranty service orders are delinquent. Those types of things show up on your vendor notices. So as administrators of your companies, you're going to want to pay very close attention to the vendor notices. Make sure you take care of those. Then you have your upcoming scheduled tasks. If you hold your mouse over anything where a question mark, it'll tell you what it does. This is saying that these are the tasks that are happening over the next 7 working days for you. So this is a quick snapshot of what you have going on this week. All right, here on your dashboard. And before we go too far with these vendor notices, I just want to tell you that let's say we did sign this lien waiver and give it back. We want to check the boxes when we do that, and then come down here and hit go. The idea of your dashboard is you don't want it to be an ever-growing area. You know what? I should have asked this in the beginning. Is there anyone in the room who uses this system with another builder? One? Okay, good. Is your dashboard, you keep your dashboard pretty cleared up? Good. Did you ever not do it in the beginning and have it get too full? It could be pretty painful. So, yeah. So what you want to do is right off the bat, everybody says that. They're like, oh man, that dashboard, I couldn't even use the dashboard. Then when they clear everything, they get a new start and a new beginning. The idea is this dashboard's going to get full really fast. If you check the items off when you actually do them on your dashboard, then checking it every day will only give you the new items that you have to see. So you can spend like 10 seconds looking at it instead of going through like a year's worth of stuff that's already paid and useless. So definitely clear your dashboard regularly. Check the boxes, hit go at the bottom, it gets it off the dashboard. After scheduling, you have your work orders. I'm logged in as a supplier right now, so the supplier doesn't have any work orders. But I have purchase orders. When I click on a purchase order, it goes through and it prepares it as a PDF. Then when I click on the PDF, I can see the purchase order. Okay? It looks just like it looked if it were to come out of the back office and they were to print it right off the printer and hand it. You're downloading it right from their system. The purchase order again has the purchase order number at the top, has the lot, the block, the development, the parts and pieces that need to be delivered. And this includes base house and options. This is for this custom house that we're building. Okay? And it doesn't have to be completely custom. Every house is custom to a certain extent. But this is the PO, this is what needs to be delivered. A couple things about the symbols. Typically, when I log back in as the work order vendor, what you'll notice is that most of these are circles with plus signs, green circles with plus signs. When you see green circles with plus signs, that means that something new was created for you that needs your attention. So you can look at it, download it, print it, or go do the work, and then clear it from your dashboard. If there's ever a situation where your work order or purchase order has to be changed, and there's processes and procedures in place to avoid this. We don't like having to change work orders and purchase orders. That's just hard on everybody. But if there's ever a situation where it has to be changed, you'll see a little blue circle with an exclamation point in the middle. If your purchase order or work order has to be deleted for some reason, you're never going to end up in a situation where you have a piece of paper in your hand and you didn't know it was deleted. You'll see that there's a red circle with an X in the middle. The way that it's going to work, and I'll show you this more when I show you the job start, but the way this is going to work is these options that you're bidding on each have what's called a cutoff stage. All of you have your order that has to happen at a certain time during the construction process. So you're all going to fit into what's called a stage of construction. When the house starts, we're not going to create all the work orders and purchase orders and just give them to everybody. Because the cleaner, the final painters, the trim, they don't need to see any of that stuff because we're nowhere near it. We're months away from it. So we don't need to do that because that's just going to create headaches because we're going to make changes. So we're going to hold off and stage the way we release work. That staging process is going to be based on your order lead time. So the builder is going to be asking you questions about your order lead time. If you need like 3 weeks, tell them you need like 3 weeks. Don't say you need like 8 weeks, because what's going to end up happening is if you tell them you need 8 weeks, they'll give you 9 because you said 8, but then you're going to end up with work orders and purchase orders going to be changing on you like this because buyers change their mind, and try to be reasonable about it, because the more options they sell, the more money you're going to make. But we want your POs and work orders to be accurate, okay? So when your work is released, it cuts off all the options that could have made you money. Think of it that way. Once you get your work order, purchase order, no more options can be selected for things that you offer. So you want to hope that the buyer picks everything in the beginning, but you have a lot of spec homes out there. So we don't want to just release them all in the beginning. We want to make sure your order lead time is reasonable. And then you'll be able to see it on here. So let's log back in as the work order vendor. Click on my dashboard. So notice the little green circle with the plus sign in the middle? They're my work orders. So if I click on one of the work orders now, and again, work orders and purchase orders do the exact same thing. They authorize you to do the work, tell you how much you're going to get paid, and they bring along the selection that the designer made. So if there's options and colors and comments and locations and all these things that they worked out when they were selling the home, they'll all be on the work orders and purchase orders. If they're not, you should complain about it to somebody at Beacon Homes, because they should be defining them that way in sales, and they should automatically come out on the work order and purchase order like that for you. That process can be fixed very easily. All right, so it looks like this, and it has your scope of work. Notice there's a couple items that were changed with the date they were changed on. All right, so if you're a work order vendor and you have something pop up in the purchase order section, that means that something went wrong that we have to pay you more money for. So that means that there was something vandalized or your material was stolen or whatever the case may be, a VPO was created. Typically, you're going to see these things first. Talk to the superintendent, the instruction manager, they're going to create it right from their iPad, and it's going to pop right up on here for you to do the work. But then once that work is done, that superintendent is going to approve that the same way they would have for your contracted work, and it's going to go right into your queue. Then if there's any warranty work, it comes over here at the bottom. Now warranty work creates what's called a service order. A service order does not have dollars that comes along with it. A service order says, your work needs to be warranted, and this is what the homeowner said, and we inspected it, and it needs to be done by this date. So at least you'll see a whole list of those things down there below as well. Any questions about the dashboard? So a couple of takeaways. You want to check it every day. You want to keep it as clean as possible so that you don't have to spend a lot of time checking it. And everything that you clear from the dashboard, with the exception of lien waivers, are available on other screens. So for example, if I go to job documents and I go to the bottom and I click work orders, I can select an individual development, or I can select all, and it will show me all my work orders. So the dashboard is just like an inbox. They're just there temporarily. They really live here. This is where they really live, but the dashboard's just telling you that there's new ones created. So don't worry about clearing your dashboard. It's better to keep it clear than to get it jumped up so that you can only see new things coming in and know what work you have to do. If you ever need to look at all your work orders, you can just go to the work order screen. And you can reprint from there too. If you hit the house drop down, you can look at all houses or individual houses, and the houses have the addresses next to them. All right, so you know where you're going. Work orders all have the addresses too. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about your. Actually, before we get too far into it, we're about halfway through. Does anybody need a break? Or do you guys want to keep on going and try to finish a little bit early? Keep going? Okay. So this is the job documents. This is called the work order purchase order status history screen. When we come into here now, this is how you can manage your work crews, your cash flow, and what you have going on as a company in relation to Beacon Homes. And in the future, other builders that might be on this system as well that you're logging into, okay? So if I come in here, I'm interested in all developments, all houses, and over the last 90 days, I'm going to click filter. What it does is it gives me a screen that's organized by the job number. The job number is a 2-digit development code and an 8-digit house number. And if I hold my mouse over it, I have the job address. If I'm using an iPad, I just touch it, it gives me the address. The purpose of this screen is to show me the status of my work that's out here right now. So when the builder creates a purchase order, or when the builder creates a work order, it's going to create a record of availability for you here. So you could go click any of these hyperlinks and reprint any of the work orders or purchase orders. The description comes over here, the amount comes over here. Now there's some other really important columns on here. There's the day that the superintendent who walks the job site with a tablet, there's the day they approve the work. Okay, so when they do that, that action puts it into the approved column. So that 2944 for rough plumbing, that means that the superintendent walked to this job site, looked at this work order, and said, yes, that work is complete. That moved it to this column. Okay? When it becomes invoiced, when the back office now clicks the button to pull all these things in and invoice them, that amount of money, or whatever amount was invoiced, will pull over to the invoiced column. Then when a check is cut, that amount will come over to the paid column with a check date and a check number, so that you will know when you're paid for the work that you did. So you can track it all the way through now. So there's a little bit of a change in mindset. You know, today you're doing the work, and then when the work's done, you're figuring out what that work was, what options were involved, how many extra trips you had to make, what were the variances, and then you're creating bills, and then you're sending bills to the builder who go through that 5-step process that I talked to you about before. All right? That's how it's working now. The way it's going to work in the future is you're going to get the work order or purchase order first. It's going to tell you what's needed, and then you're going to perform the work or drop off the materials. Super's going to click a button to approve it, and you're going to watch it through the process. And when you watch it through the process, you can manage your business with Beacon Homes. Here's a little bit of a cue as to how this could be productive for you. If you look over here where it says all items, you can look at open but not approved. If the work orders and purchase orders are open but they're not approved, that means they were created but superintendents didn't check them off as complete yet. So that means that you probably didn't do the work yet. So based on your order lead time, this is your long-term receivables. This is your committed work to you that you didn't do yet. Next, you have your approved but not paid. This means that you did the work. The superintendent approved that you did the work, put it into the queue, but a check didn't come out yet. So this is your short-term receivables. If you sort by just this, and you look at the total at the bottom, let's do that. Over the last 90 days, show me everything that was approved but not paid. Okay, I know Beacon Homes is going to pay me $6,000 either on my next check run or based on when my terms are due. That's my short-term receivables from Beacon Homes. Okay? Then I can look at my paid only. When I look at my paid only, that's obviously items that I've already received money for. I can mash it up with my QuickBooks to make sure that my records are consistent with how much money I received. It's a very, very powerful tool. And you can look for the past 30, 60, 90, all the way out to 1 year, and then you can go as far as all items that are on file. Most builders do like a purge of data between 3 to 5 years, so you'll probably be able to have history out there for at least 3 years sitting out there for your company. All right, now let's talk a little bit about what happens when we start a job. So Beacon wants to sell like they're custom, but they have to be more production mindset so they can do more houses, take advantage of the market. So in order to do that, we said we have to break it down with base house and sell a lot of options that maintain profitability all the way through. We have to communicate to each and every one of you what options are sold on each house. Now I asked a question to the last class as to how that information is given to you. What I'd like to do is ask a couple of you. So it seemed to me like the best person to ask is probably the company who isn't making out too well when there's options. So how are you guys notified when there's options going into a house?
Just by talking to the builder.
The builder will call you, let you
Walk
know.
on site.
And then if there's changes, what ends up happening?
We find them, most of our changes come during,
During the process?
but some come later on. If people walk in, homeowners come in, somebody that wants to buy the home, then changes come at a later date because they want to make changes to sell the existing.
The spec houses. Okay, so one of the things that's going to be done to help alleviate that process is instead of giving your POs today before we even broke ground on a spec, we'll hold off and only give you the POs for what actually has to happen, and then have another stage for changes afterwards that'll give you another PO that'll help those. So that's kind of how this whole process will work for everybody. So what a lot of builders do is they get all of their options on a sheet of paper, and once the house is framed or the windows are in, they'll tape the piece of paper to there, and that lists the options on there. That's sometimes what builders do. We don't want to do any of that stuff, but we want to do it conceptually, and we want it to be available on your iPads and on your computers. So that's what the job start does. So when you go to job documents and you come down here to job starts, that's going to list all your houses that are under construction right now. If you click on one of those houses that are under construction, like I'm going to click on this spec house here, this should give me everything I need to know about this house right now. Now remember, your work order or purchase order is going to tell you what you have to do. So you probably don't ever even have to go here technically, but it can be a major benefit to you, and I think you're going to see why. So your work order will tell you what to do in order to get paid. But what this is going to tell you, this is going to tell you what stage the house is currently at. So Stephen is working on a stage release chart. Does everybody know Stephen? Stephen's with PBR. He's doing some of your takeoffs. He's working on like a stage release chart. On that chart, it's going to align what trades get released when, what triggers these things, what construction activity triggers a release. And that's how we're going to have to figure out what your order lead time is going to be. When we get that chart, we'll let everybody know what the stages are. But the job documents here are showing you the current stage this house is at. So you know it's at stage D. Look at your chart, you'll see everything that was released through stage D. You know that the sales system is cut off from changing everything that affects everything up to stage D. But at stage D right now, there's some important documents for you to look at. I have documents that are specific to my house. This custom house that we're customizing and putting options into. I want to see those documents. So the first thing to click on is your PBR layouts. Your PBR layouts is going to be specific to the house you're working on. Does everybody get this today? In an email, maybe? The latest drawings that are specific to this house? How are you distributing those today, Stephen? Email or? Yeah. Okay. So we're hoping those emails are coming in today. We're hoping that they don't get mixed in with your other 402 emails that you got that day. We're hoping that you have them handy when you go to the job site. But what's going to happen in the future is, like tomorrow, you can log on to the site and go down to your job starts and pull up your house and look at this section that says house drawings. Now I say tomorrow, but he's probably doing it right now, so you might want to give him a few days to get caught up. But when you click on that, it will give you the opportunity to click on any of these things that are attached. So the point I want to make is under house drawings, these are things that are specific to the house. Not necessarily the plans you bid on, but the house that's being built right now, like the plot plans and different things like that. Then you have the lot documents. All right, so things that are specific to the lot might go over here. If it's a custom lot, if it's a cul-de-sac, if there's different things that, you know, the irrigation vendor was in here last time, thought that would be a good place to put the plot plan and different things like that. So you have lot documents. Then you have what's called additional information. The additional information can be added in multiple segments. So if there are, take a look at what documents are out there. If you need documents that are not there that you know the builder possesses, you're going to want to email, who do we want them to email? Ed. Email Ed, and we'll make sure that those documents are out there and available to you. It's very easy for them to make these available to you, so there's no reason not to. So definitely make sure you email them and let them know. Then you have what's called model elevation specific documents. So remember those documents that I showed